Hi everyone, this is Kim Aaliyah, and welcome to a very special session with my good friend and master homeopath, Dr. Roger Morrison. I'm going to give Dr. Morrison a quick introduction, and then I'm going to pass the screen over to him so he can do his presentation. He's going to present a couple of cases and then also demonstrate the VitalQuest software and show you how to use it to help solve these particular cases. I do want to mention that you do have a control panel on the right-hand side of your screen, and feel free to type in questions anytime during the presentation. Time permitted, I'll try to answer as many questions or actually relay those questions to Dr. Morrison during the course of at the end of the presentation. So Dr. Morrison earned the prestigious homeopathic diploma from the Athenian School of Homeopathic Medicine in 1984. And then he returned to the United States to assist in establishing the Hahnemann Medical Clinic and the Hahnemann College of Homeopathy. He has been one of the foremost educators and leaders of homeopathy ever since, lecturing extensively in the USA and abroad. Dr. Morrison's textbooks, The Desktop Guide and The Desktop Companion, have become standard texts at most homeopathic colleges. They're translated into 5 languages and are used by homeopaths throughout the world. And let me add briefly that on top of being an incredibly nice person and master homeopath, Dr. Morrison has probably the most prodigious memory for the keynotes of our Materia Medica of any person I've ever met. He's just like a machine when it comes to knowing our remedies. And he's, like I said, a really, really lovely individual. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Dr. Morrison. And here you go.
Okay, I'm on, huh?
You're on.
Okay. Hello, friends. This program.
Roger, you have to click on Show My Screen, Roger.
Oh. Okay. Is that working?
That's good.
Okay. This program, VitalQuest, I've been using the program for quite a few years, but about half a year ago, suddenly it went from, like a very small, very unsophisticated program, and now it's gone to a very ambitious program, which I only know a very small corner of. And I'm going to start out just showing you, I hope everybody can see my screen. This is the basic home page of the program. And I'm just going to show you how I used to use it, because that's what I'm most familiar with, which is basically as a reference site. This is the place where, when I want to find out what Rajan Sankaran says about something, this is where I come. So it's like a repository of everything that Rajan has discovered and known through the years, and therefore its main use to me was as a reference works, not to be confused with the program named ReferenceWorks. So let's see, I want to just first show you a few things, and where I'm going to click first, if you've got the program up on your computer, you may want to just sort of follow along with me, is the Materia Medica. So once you click on Materia Medica, this will show you places where you can get information about remedies from almost anywhere. Here we see a series of buttons to get into, well, first animal, that's what's already up. And so you click on animal, and then it's very easy to go down to the various types of animals. So if you click on birds, for example, then you get some information about what are the birds that are already proved or that we have information about. And you can scroll down and, find information about almost any one of these. When you see, like, if you can see my cursor here, you can see where there's these little subpanels where they're underlined, and you've got more information there. So if you click on Haliaethus, the bald eagle, you can look through and you get physical characteristics and then lifestyle characteristics, and then information about the proving, keywords that Rajan and his team have discovered, or all of us have discovered, are associated with Eagle, and then patient expressions, and then specific issues that Eagle has the desire to rise high above, emotions or whatever. And then oftentimes you'll find cases. So if you really want to see a cured case, you can come through and see one or two, or in this case, I think there's actually several more, maybe just two cases of Eagle here. So you can do the same thing with all of the plant families. You can go to the different plant families, Loganaceae, for example, and you can scroll through and see information about the subfamilies of the Loganaceae, what they're related to, the main characteristics of the Loganaceae family, the sensations, the active and passive reactions. And then you can go through, and if you want to find information about the individual ones which he has categorized by miasm, you can just click on those. You'll get the main feeling of the remedy, and then you'll get cases of the remedies just the same way that you did in animals. And then you can do the same thing in the minerals. You click the mineral section. Anything which is underlined here, you see these ones with these little underlines, they've got information about. If there's no underline, like in the lanthanides, where the team felt that they didn't know enough to put any information, then they just don't underline it. There's no information stored there. But if you go to, for example, Kali, you can just click on that. You get the information about the fourth row, of which Kali is the first member. You get information about the column, information about Kali's, and then you can find cases there. You can go into specific Kali remedies as well, and so forth. And going back here, you can also get information by clicking on either the row or the column. So you can click on the second row, all the information about general characteristics as Rajan sees it, about the second row or the various columns and so forth. So that's those are the first three buttons there. Then this is
Roger, I'm sorry to interject. Roger, I'm sorry to interject,
yes.
But some people have asked if you could maximize the window because they're having difficulty reading the screen. Is that possible?
Let's see.
Maybe the little buttons in the upper left-hand corner of the window, will that make it bigger?
I don't know. I could just sort of maybe drag it. No, it doesn't. Well, there it goes. How's that? That doesn't look a whole lot bigger, though.
No, but the green, doesn't the green button make it bigger, expand? Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
This one here?
There yeah, that's, yeah.
Okay, so if you can see, then these are buttons. This is nosodes, sarcodes, imponderables, things like that. There's kind of less information there. This one is on the miasms, so you can get information on each of the miasms. You can, this large store of cured cases that are in the program, you can read, any of the cases that you're interested in. And then there's a search function where you can search for, well, I'll show more about the searches later, but you can search for books or remedies or specific words all through the program. So that's the first way I use it, is just to go through and find the information that's currently available about what Rajan and his team have found about these various subjects and categories. All right. Then let me backtrack. No, whoops. I didn't backtrack right, sorry. Let's see. Go back in. Sorry about that. I kicked us right out of the program. Okay, here we go. Now, the second way that I've always used the program, in which I still use it, is to just go to the sensation section. And if any of you have had this program for a while, I'm sure you've done the same. And in the sensation section, it gives you a chance to either type in specific words. For example, you can type in the word tight. And so this part of the program is designed for, as you've taken the case, if you're using the sensation method, you're taking the case and you get the key words, which are accompanied by gestures where you can tell that the patient is in the sensation level of the case taking. And if you don't know what I'm talking about right there, then backtrack and get some of Rajan's earlier books about sensation, and there's so much written about the sensation method. But once you've done your case taking and you have some words that are sensation words, you can type them in here, and then you hit the return button. And if it turns up red, then you know that that was a sensation word. If you type in, say, grief, and you hit the return button, grief doesn't turn red. The reason for that is it's not really a sensation word. Or you could type in a word that maybe is one that the patient said, but it's not listed in the sensation dictionary. So, and in which case, if you hit it, it won't come in red. And in that case, you have to try and find a different word that means the same thing and see if that fits into whatever is already coded into the dictionary of sensations. I'm just trying to think how. So if you put uptight, and you click it in, you won't get anything. So you have to try and think of a different word for uptight, maybe tense, and then you click that, and it's red. So therefore, you know that the program is logging in that concept, that feeling, and it's going to use it in the analysis. So I want to show you how I use this part of the program, and I'm going to put up the first case that I wanted to just tell you briefly. This is a case that I actually, used the VitalQuest program to give me some ideas about how to approach the case and which remedies may work. And I'll show you the words that I put in. So this very nice kid, he's 19, and he comes to the interview with both parents. So all three of them are together. And the chief complaint is that he's been depressed for most of his life. And the mother jumps right in. So you can see how involved the parents are with this boy. And she jumps in and she says, I feel that the problem started when he was 7 years old, even though it doesn't make any sense. One day he came home from school, like in the first grade or maybe the second grade, having heard a friend said that there's no such thing as Santa. And he asked his mom, Mom, is there a Santa? And the mom would, gulp, and she said, well, no, there's not really any Santa. And the kid had this violent reaction. I mean, no kid wants to hear that there's no Santa, but this kid, it was something really beyond. And he started crying and sobbing hysterically, and he yelled at his mother, you lied to me, you lied to me. And he fell on the floor, practically grief-stricken, and he began sobbing hysterically. And the mother had just never seen him like this. And then at this point, the boy chimes in and he says, it really crushed me. He remembered it to this day, like with perfect clarity. And then the mother says it was a deep hurt. He was hopeless for many days, like a listless rag doll. And the boy says, all the magic went out of the world. There was nothing special to look forward to, and he was deeply traumatized. Okay, so I've heard of kids have them when they find out that there's no Santa, but I had never in my whole career of 30 some years ever heard anybody have that kind of reaction to not hearing, to hearing there was no Santa. And not only that, some time later, they weren't sure exactly how long later, the child developed a kidney infection, developed a high fever. He became delirious. He was muttering. He was shouting in his sleep. And they discovered that he had reflux from an incompetent sphincter of his ureter. He nearly died. He had to have all these procedures to, repair the problem with the ureter where it entered the bladder. And it was one of the most traumatic events of his life. That's what the child said. And finally, he got out of the hospital. He was in there for a long time, and went back to school. And around that time, he began having school problems, kind of like dyslexia. And even though he's an extremely hard worker and very conscientious, he developed these processing issues, and he struggled to keep his grades up, even from very young, from the second grade onward. And he started to get very hopeless about his schoolwork, very anxious, and he began to feel depressed. And he's been depressed basically his whole life since then. Now, he's currently at age 19, he's starting to, go to college a little bit, still living at home. And he just really wants to succeed, but he's so much afraid that, just like always, he's going to get in trouble when he tries to concentrate, when he tries to study the material, his mind goes blank and he just can't do it. He just can't do the work. Even though if somebody will sit and coach him with it, he can understand the concepts and he can get it, but then he goes into the test and just really can't show what he knows. And he's just barely getting through and starting at the very beginning of community college. Now, with the depression, he sometimes gets volatile. And he went out surfing with some friends, and this one guy accused him that if you're a surfer, this is the constant complaint. Like if you start surfing in front of somebody else, they say, "You cut me off, man." And this guy sort of insulted our patient, and he says, "I went off on him. I wanted to get into a fight." I said, "Well, what were you feeling?" He said, "So disappointed. and I capitalized all the words where there was actually hand gestures. So he says, "I'm a very loyal person, so loyal, and if a friend disappoints me, I just go into grief and sadness. I feel like I'm from another planet." And the mother chimes in and says his whole life his friends have disappointed him, and it's just so hard for him to get over it. And then he becomes flat, unmotivated. He feels empty inside. He gets sad for no reason, and anything will disappoint him, and he just gets down on himself, and he wants to give up, his school or whatever. And then eventually he comes around and he starts, backing, tries to get his enthusiasm up again, and so forth. Now, he had another deep trauma around the age of 12. Actually, he's had 2 or 3 very deep traumas. And this one, when he was, preteen, his mom, he's giving his mom lip, just saying, "Oh, my life is so miserable," and, just complaining about all of his misfortunes and the friends that let him down and stuff like that. And his mom says, "You don't have it so bad. My father sexually abused me." Now, he never knew this about his grandfather. And the mother she just sort of blurted it out. She didn't mean to. And when she did that, the patient went into a deep feeling of shock again, and he began sobbing hysterically. And the mother says it crushed him. He was devastated, inconsolable for hours. He just couldn't get over it. And he's had a similar event. I forget, there was one other event which created the same sort of reaction in him. I think maybe I describe it later. Okay, so besides the depression, he's suffering with problems with his erections. Even when he masturbates, he can't keep the erection. And even though he has morning erections, they're very hard. When he gets into sex, instead of thinking about sex with his girlfriend or whatever his fantasies are, his mind drifts to all of his other problems and the erection becomes weak. Even before he starts to have the intercourse, it gets weak. And he has some dreams, 3 repeated dreams. One dream of running from people, and that sort of dovetailed with the second dream, is that he's in a plane in World War II and his parachute won't open and he crashes down and he dies. And then the third dream is he's in a war with his friends, and the friends have been shot or somehow hit by shrapnel or something, and they're dying. And I'm trying and trying to save them, he says, but it's hopeless. There's nothing I can do. And that's pretty much what the boy had to say. But then the mother, since she was right there, I said, well, can you tell me anything about the pregnancy? And the mother mentions that she had this hyperemesis. During the entire pregnancy, she lost down to 90 pounds. And she's not a small woman. And down to 41 kilograms. And she became depressed and even suicidal during the pregnancy. She was determined that she wasn't going to have an abortion. And she vomited anything, any food, even water made her vomit. But especially what caused her the trouble was hearing or thoughts of food. So even hearing the name of a restaurant, it could trigger vomiting. So just the very name of a restaurant, odors of any kind could make her vomit, but especially the thought of food. Just the thought of food would trigger vomit. And during the pregnancy, she had one dream. She says, I'm giving birth to kittens, but I can't breastfeed them. My breasts are too small. And the kittens are crying. And I said, what do you feel? She says, I feel devastated. I failed my kittens. Okay, so that was the case, pretty much the whole case. There's some other little points. So to me, I just to check it, but I was already thinking of a certain group of remedies. But so here's where you can just take the keywords. Now here, where it says here, right here, where I'm highlighting patient's history or physician's observations. If you type your cases, you can simply import the entire case into this spot. And it will bring in the entire case and it can analyze your whole case. And what the program does then is it looks for any words that fit into the sensation dictionary. It's log of words that the program is sensitive to, is programmed to respond to. Or what I usually do is I just simply type in the words where there was a hand gesture, a strong hand gesture, or in some other way an indication that this was part of the sensation of the patient. So here I'm just going to type in the words which I had underlined as being part of the sensation of the case. So the first word was shocked. Then he said crushed. And then there was the word disappointment. And then the word devastated. They used the word crushed again, devastated again. Those were the main words. So when you get the words, all you have to do is you can go down here for analysis, select all, and then you click on sensation analysis, or you can click on quick results. So what you see is that set of words comes to the plant family. Then you can click on the plant family, and what you see is that the strongest group is the Loganaceae, which is what I had intuitively felt about the case. And then you can go into back here to the Materia Medica and go into the plant family, find the plant families, and go into the Loganaceae. And there you can read everything about the Loganaceae, which Rajan has felt was central. So, you know, in the schema that probably most of you have worn out, like I've worn out mine, you can go through and you can see, here are the sensations: shocked, let down, disappointed, torn to pieces. See, it doesn't say devastated, but devastated was his word, but it gives that idea: shattered, ruined. And then the passive reaction is paralysis. You remember the mother said he became like a rag doll. And then the active reaction is beside oneself, which means hysterical, basically, which is what happened. And so you see all of the characteristics of the Loganaceae are there. Then you have only the question of which Loganaceae. So one thing you can do is just try and choose, like, which one of the miasms do we feel fits him. So that's one way of doing it. That's not what I did in this case. And I found that unless you're absolutely positive what the miasm is, you can easily be misled here if you just choose, if you do what might be called approximating to the nearest miasm, you can often mislead yourself. So I like to have some other more substantial information to go through. So I went here to McRepertory. Now I'm going to show you, because VitalQuest is now building in a repertory function into the program. I'm going to show you a little bit about that as well. But so to me, there were a couple of very strong points here. The first was that that here's a 19-year-old healthy boy who gets morning erections, so there's nothing physiologically wrong with him, but he's having problem with his erections. So I'm going into the erections, and his problem is that he has incomplete erections. Somewhere we'll find. Okay, so he's having incomplete erections. So I'm going to put that into my repertory. This is just the McRepertory, but I'm sure if you're a radar user, you'll find the same information basically. And the other thing that was most curious to me was the information about the mother who had nausea from food, from the thought of food, from thinking of food. So I'm putting both of those rubrics in. Well, I got them in twice somehow. Okay. And then I'm going to just, I'm going to repertorize it. And then I'm going to do a limit. Let's see. And I'm going to limit it to the Loganaceae. And here you see the remedy coming up the strongest is the remedy Upus. Upus, which is the remedy in the ringworm miasm. And for those of you that are very familiar with the miasms, and if you're not, I know a really good book you could read about the miasms, written by that guy Morrison, along with his wife Herrick. So that might be a good one to grab if you're not familiar with the miasms. And the main characteristic of the ringworm miasm, which is effort, strong effort, trying, and then failing, and then trying again, which seemed to me to fit quite well, sort of his tenacious desire to succeed in school and in other ways. So so I gave him lupus, and I got a follow-up. I've now followed him for about 3 or 4 years. So I got the follow-up about 6 weeks afterwards, and the boy, 19-year-old, he says to me, everything's going really well. I've been feeling good. I've had no depression. And the mother, who was still there, she said, we noticed a marked difference. He's happier, he's lighter. She said, basically, it's a miracle. And then I asked her to go out, and I said, hey, how's it going with your erections? He said, no problem. Immediately, the erections came back to normal. I haven't had one episode with my girlfriend of difficulty with erections, which, as as you know, if you've been in this business a while, curing erectile dysfunction is not necessarily a simple thing. So, so that was the case where using the knowledge inside of the program and then dovetailing it with the repertory, any of our repertory programs, we could be led very specifically to an unusual remedy, Upus Tienti, and had a wonderful reaction. Now I've followed him for like 3 or 4 years, and he's never had another problem. He's never had to repeat the remedy, and just done, you know, altogether well, and is succeeding way beyond the family's expectations in his college education. So that was case one. Now, as you see, I've just clicked over to the repertory function away from the Materia Medica function. So basically, my knowledge of the program includes this, this, and this. All this stuff over here to the right side, I haven't even explored this yet, so I'm not going to even try and teach you about that side of the program. But the repertory, and I don't know whether many of you have heard that Paresh has been developing what he calls the reliable repertory. And this is a repertory, you know, starting with Kent, and they're building it up, trying very hard to match our two very, you know, well-known programs, the complete repertory and the synthesis repertory. And so he's trying to duplicate this as a proprietary repertory for the VitalQuest program. Paresh has told me he's working on this kind of night and day. And of course, having a very good repertory where all the rubrics have been checked thoroughly, and not just checked, but are easy to be cross-referenced. So if you go into the mind section, then you just click on the reliable repertory. It opens up. It looks very much like all the other repertories. And then you would just type on your keyboard. You could type fear. Well, you should be able to type fear. Oh no. Oh, I see what I've done wrong. Yeah, here we go, fear. So once you get to this part that's highlighted, you have to start doing something a little bit unusual. It's a little bit unwieldy. Paresh has told me that they're going to be, you know, streamlining this and making it much more like McRepertory over time. So you can click on that, and then if you want to get to a sub-rubric, you choose your right arrow. You have to hit the arrow, and then you can type in there like fear of airplanes or whatever. So you can get gelsemium, or you can also just scroll through and see what's there, or you can add things. And then if you find these starred items, let's see, if you click on it, what will happen is it will take you to the reference where they added this to Kent's repertory. So just let me go back and I'll do that again. So every one of these stars, if you click on it, it leads you to a reference point. So you go to basilinum and you want to see, well, okay, you say that basilinum is there, but where did you find that information? And also, under what circumstances or in what way is the fear of dogs expressed in basilinum? You can double click on that, and you can find the exact reference where the fear of dogs came from. So that's why we're calling, Paresh is calling it the reliable repertory, because every edition has got the exact reference from which that edition was taken. So this is the reliable repertory. And so you can, what's amazing now is you can take the, let's see, you can go back to the home page. So you could, for example, if you wanted to, you can add in, that's how this is geared. So you can add the rubrics right into just like you do in McRepertory, you can just slide it over and add it in to these various rubrics. It turns red, and then when you click on that, so in this R2, Repertory Clipboard 2, there's nothing. You click on Repertory Clipboard 1, and there's your rubric that you put in. Now, what's amazing in this is that you can add in the sensation directly with the repertorization, so you can do it all together. This sensation analysis, then we can we can add that together with the rubrics that we've checked, that we've added in by hitting Synergy. So here we have the sensation analysis that was leading us towards logonasia, and we've got the rubrics, and then we do a synergy analysis, and it comes up with all the remedies that fit with that sensation analysis, also having the rubrics that we have chosen to put into our rubric clipboard. So that's one amazing thing that you can do in this program now. I've only started doing it, and of course it's only as good as the repertory, and so as the repertory is being developed, this is going to become more and more like our most useful strategy, because it's synergy. It's using the repertory and the sensation methods simultaneously. Now I want to show you something that's even more useful. It gets back to the old way I used this program. There's something called a sensation myosins. So you go up here, and if you've got the program, just remember to go up to the very top right, and you can go down. So here's the reliable repertory. That's what we've been using. But there's also something called the sensation repertory. So right now the program's it's saying wait. It's saying I'm pulling up the sensation repertory right now. So now here's the sensation repertory. So every word that the patient could possibly want to give you, so you can just type in here like shock. So you can see here that the strongest one is the Loganaceae family. So if you know, for example, what the keywords were, this is basically just turning it inside out. When we do the sensation analysis, we go through and the program takes the words that we programmed in and given us the various breakdowns of what that could look like. When you do it this way, you can just type in and see yourself. You can just scan and see. And then if it's shock from an injury, then obviously compositate. So it gives you the way to differentiate the various qualities of shock. So I have found this part of the program just incredibly useful as a source of study, as a reference source. And you can also just take these words and add those into the repertory. So you can just, let's see, I'm not sure, I think you just do it here. No, I think you have to put it, well, there's a different way of adding it in, which I can't quite remember, sorry. But so I use this both basically as a reference source, and then you can use that in the repertorization as well. Okay, now so what I wanna do is I wanna give you, okay, I want to give you the second case quickly. Let's see, so we're going to the sensation because I'm going to use this again. Oh, and then very important, I forgot to tell you, when you're in the sensation repertory, if you just type in the word theme, T-H-E-M-E, theme, come on. There we go, themes. You can find sort of super rubrics of sensations. So if you go to themes, then you hit that right arrow, you can get down to tight. And all of the all of the families that have tightness in some way are listed there, and then you can see that most of them have these stars, so you can look into the program to see where the tightness is, what the actual sensation is in this particular family, and so forth. So now I want to give you this case, a second case. Let me draw it up here and we'll. Oops. Nancy's saying I don't have time to actually read through it, but let me just read through it quickly. It's a 50-year-old woman with migraines, and she gets a strong tension in her back and her shoulders going up to her head, and especially to the left occiput. It's much worse since she's gone into menopause. She gets this throbbing. It feels like the head is like there's a pushing outward, and it's better when she tries to put pressure on it. And then she gets pain in the shoulder blades, actually under the shoulder blade, and especially under the left shoulder blade, which radiates up into her neck and then to her head. You know, it's a pulsating headache, typical migraines. She has a few rubrics specific. Well, I'll show you that from somewhere else. So she says the feeling is like a black hole in her left temple. So naturally, I asked her, once she had finished saying as much as she was going to say, I said, tell me about this black hole. And she says, my problems began when I was a teenager under a lot of stress, and it was too much weight on my shoulders. The father had left the home. The mother was kind of incompetent, became depressed, and it was the mother, our patient, and her younger sister all living together in what she says, we lived in a miserable little village. There was a lot of financial stress, and I had to take care of my mother as if she was an egg, and she cups her hands. We had to be like as if she was holding an egg in her hand. She said, we had to be very, very careful. She would flip out, she would scream, she would throw things and break down. I would feel attacked by her. And then she would drive off in the car and we were stuck there. And she made a fist-like gesture. And she says, my mother wants to put me into a corner. When she comes now, she tries to just talk to me, and I feel like I can't breathe. I want to get free of her. And I feel controlled and restricted. And then I asked her about stuck, and she said, as if you're in a room with the doors closed. It's claustrophobic, it's restricting. My sister also has severe claustrophobia. It's like you're squeezed on all sides, like you're in a prison, like it's tight. So I put all of these words into the program just to let you know. Then she also has hot flashes that began with her menopause. And she gets it about 6 to 8 times a night. Where's my case? Yeah. She has these hot flashes. They were better from hormone replacement, but that made the headache so much worse she had to stop. She's been taking triptans. She has to take more and more of them in order to get pain relief, and now they're hardly working at all. And with these hot flashes, she said it's like a rush coming upward into her head. It comes suddenly. It's worse from exertion. It's better if I drink cold water. I said, what's the main experience of the hot flashes? She says it's tingling. I feel stifled and I feel trapped. And so she's come back to this word trapped. I can't get away. I'm feeling like I'm shrunk. I'm trapped in a shell and there's no way out. So I asked her about the shell, thinking, could this be a mollusk? She says, it restricts me, it protects me. I feel enclosed. I want to remove myself from the outside world. It's squished. I feel suffocated. I feel buried alive. She has one dream that she tells about being on a beach. People are in the water, and I see a whale's flute crashing down, and it gets bigger and bigger, and everyone gets crushed by the whale. And then, without going into the details, she goes into a long thing about self-worth, that she wants to be independent. She can't stand to be dependent on anybody. And it all has to do with her self-worth. A person that's worth something will have will be independent, do things on their own, and so forth. Okay. So let's see. I think since we're getting so close, in the interest of time, I'm just going to bring you to where I eventually got through programming those words in. So the question is, could it be a mollusk? If so, where is the attack defense? Although she said she felt her mother was attacking her, but this strong feeling of attack and defense seemed to be absent. I wasn't ready to go with mollusk. Could it be Euphorbiaceae, which of course comes up strong with this tight and stuck and imprisoned? But what came through most strongly was this feeling of her development. Could she be independent or could she not be independent? And so I came to the concept of the second row, and specifically I came to the idea of nitrogen, which I knew had the feeling of danger, like an egg that could break, danger. And so I came here and I got all the ideas of nitrogen so strongly. The idea of danger, that you have to be alone to face danger, and the feeling of being bound and wanting to be free, bound and released. And so I went through, and then I came to, I also did, of course, a repertorization of the program of the symptoms. Now I don't want to be limited to the Loganaceae. And what I found here was one of the nitrogens, amyl nitrate, covered every symptom in the case. And so I gave her the remedy amyl nitrosum, amyl nitrate, and she had a wonderful reaction. She had one more migraine after the remedies, very soon after the remedy, and then after that, she never had another migraine. I followed her. Let's see, I saw her first. I followed her for about 8 years. She's never had another migraine. The hot flashes were extinguished almost immediately, and she's had a lot of progress in the emotional sphere as well. So I just wanted to show you how useful this program can be from many standpoints, and some of the new things being encoded into the program, and just a little bit of a survey of how I use it. I know we didn't have time to thoroughly go into what the program can do, but I just wanted to give you a taste. And Kim has asked me to leave, like 5-10 minutes for questions. So if anybody wanted to ask some questions, I'd be happy to try and answer.
Roger, thank you for an excellent presentation. I learned a lot about the program and how you use it to work on these types of cases, so it was really, really wonderful. Let me just mention that the VitalQuest program is on sale. It will be on sale for the next short period of time, and the current price for the VitalQuest is normally $1,600. It's currently on sale for $1,000, and if you want to add as an additional item the Sankaran library, normally at $650, and it's currently on sale for $400. If you want more information about that, you can send an email to sales, S-A-L-E-S, at Synergy, S-Y-N-E-R-G-Y, homeopathic, H-O-M-E-O-P-A-T-H-I-C.com. Again, that's sales at synergyhomeopathic.com. Again, the prices are instead of $1,600 for the VitalQuest Synergy version program, it's now $1,000, and the additional Sankaran library instead of $650 is currently $400.
Oh yeah. Well, so when you think about it, you can literally get away without buying any of Sankaran's books. Of course, if you've already got them all like I do, but if you don't, you can go through and you have all these books just for, it's almost worth it to buy the program just for the books that are in it.
It's true, because if you have to buy those books as printed books, they cost you quite a bit. So yeah, absolutely.
And I can say, I mean, I'm not a salesperson. I'm not trying to sell the program, but I don't go through a single day without opening up this program multiple times just for what the material that's in there. And then when I have a case where I just can't decide what family and so forth I'm looking at, I'll just type in just 10 or 20 words from the case, 10 words usually, and just do the quick analysis. And sometimes just that much it'll just trigger my mind. It'll just go, well, what about this group? I'll go, oh yeah, I never even thought of that book, that group, that family from that grouping of sensation words. And because the computer is not prejudiced, the program's not prejudiced. It comes to whatever it's programmed in there. So even if your mind is not thinking about a certain thing, the program will lead it to you if it's justified by the sensation words. So it can be very useful from that standpoint. Anyway.
Thank you, Roger. That's great.
Sure.
So there's a number of questions. The first one here, somebody wanted you to repeat your and Nancy's, the exact title of your and Nancy's book on the miasms.
Oh, it's called Miasms for the New Millennium.
Great. And I guess they can purchase that from any of the homeopathic bookstores. I guess is it on Amazon as well?
It should be up on Amazon now. But yeah, you can check there. You can write to me directly. We can sell it to you, or you can get it through all the book vendors.
Okay, great. And if they want to write to you directly, Roger, how would they do that?
Why don't you just go straight to our webpage, which is herrickmorrison.com.
HERRICKMORRISON.com.
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, so there's a question here about case number 1. And the person says the amalgamation of the rubric from both mother and son, did the son also have nausea worse for thinking of restaurants? And if no, what made you combine her sensation with his physical symptom, the incomplete erection?
You know, the symptoms of the mother during pregnancy are often extremely useful for the child. Now, normally I wouldn't do that for a teenager, but because the mother was there with the kid and seemed to be almost like fused with the boy, then I felt it was justified just to have a look. Now, if nothing that the mother had said had added to, something relating to Loganaceae family, I probably would have just ignored it. So in this case, the boy had this sort of a nondescript depression, and he had erectile dysfunction and virtually no other useful symptoms, nothing else to look up in the repertory. So I was just looking at everything, and the knee-jerk reaction would be maybe to give Ignatia in this case, but Ignatia just didn't, the dependency, the fact that he was even there with his parents, just did not fit for the general feeling. I would have given Ignatia reluctantly under that circumstance. So I was just trying to get any clue for something that would go elsewhere. I was already thinking just on the basis of the miasm for Upus, but then when I found these two amazing correlations to such a tiny remedy, then I gave it with a lot of confidence. So anything that can bolster your confidence in a storm is worthwhile.
Yeah, so true. Thanks, Roger. Somebody asks about acute cases, and if you find that in acute or first aid situations, you can also use the vital sensation method and the VitalQuest program.
You can use them, although, I mean, to be honest, 90% of all acute cases you're going to solve with, your repertory. You're not going to solve them by the sensation method. But sometimes, especially if somebody has a really severe acute, especially in those instances, that acute is likely to be a reflection of, the deeper state. And therefore, in those cases, the sensation will be a very strong part of it. And then, yes, VitalQuest will be very useful in that sort of case. When it's just a flu that came on or an injury that, that the patient received, probably not.
Okay, great. Somebody here asks, is the success of the VitalQuest program dependent on also having the Sankaran library?
No, because most of the information is coded right into the program itself. You know, it's embedded in the program, as it were. So the library is just if you want to read the whole reference that you've got, but if you're just willing to put the words in and trust, you know, the conclusions that Sankaran has without reading how he got there, the program is enough. But if you don't have all those books, yeah, it would be nice to, you know, be a nice way to get all those books for $400. That'd be an economical way to get them. But if you've got a lot of the books, no, you don't have to buy that part of the program. Only if you want it in the program.
Great. And somebody here asks, you mentioned that you use this on a daily basis. Yeah. So the question is, in what percentage of your cases are you using the vital sensation method, and what percentage do you use the VitalQuest program?
I would say that I would at least consider. There's a lot of cases in which I go through, I consider the sensation words. If I've got strong sensation words, I'll of course look them all up and I'll look at those sensations. But many cases, I will decide strictly on the basis of repertorization, just the old-fashioned way. What percentage? Maybe 20% would be pure repertorization. Then probably 10% would be on the basis of pure sensation, especially if you get the sensation leading to the source, like the person starts talking about, you know, they feel free like a bird and they just wish that they were an eagle soaring through the air, and they have eagle feathers all over their room at home and pictures of eagle, and they're wearing a medallion around their neck of an eagle. That would be a case that was purely from the source or purely for the sensation. So that would be another 10% or maybe 20%. And then the vast majority of cases, I'll do very careful repertorization, and then or I'll do very careful analysis of the sensation, and I'll marry the two together, which is what this program is being designed to accomplish. So most of the time, I'll use some sensations, maybe a lot of sensations and just a few rubrics, or just the reverse, a lot of rubrics and careful analysis of the physical or general characteristics, and then a few key points from the sensation. So I'll mix and match. So I would say the majority of cases are done that way. Some sensation and some Materia Medica, and always looking for the remedy that finally at that moment when you see it fit together, you go, yes, this covers the exact characteristics of the genius of the remedy. That's probably the majority of cases.
Very good. So there's a question here, and I guess this one I'll answer, which is, can we purchase through Synergy Homeopathic, or do we need to go through VitalQuest, I guess, which is in India? And yeah, you can. That's why I gave my the email for Synergy Homeopathic, sales, SALES, at Synergy, SYNERGY, homeopathic.com. Feel free to send an email with any questions, or if you just simply want to purchase the program, somebody at the company will be happy to respond to you very quickly and give you any additional information about any questions that you might have. There are a lot more questions. I know that Roger and Nancy have a dinner engagement tonight at 6 o'clock, which is right now, and it's 40 minutes away from where they are, so they're already going to be late. So I'm going to end the call. Roger, thank you. You did a great job. It was very informative and very helpful.
All friends, many blessings on your work and your healing, and I hope this has given you just a little bit of insight on how I'm working with this particular program.
Thank you so much. Yeah, bye everybody. Have a very good night. Take care, everyone.